Well, I just sort you out a little bit. That's the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. It's Thursday. We are getting through the week, my friends. Getting through the weekend. Obviously, West Ham winning yesterday or this morning depends about your time zone. Yeah, it was a decent run out. I sort of took you through my 5 things I think we've learned from that game, and there was a lot of positives to come out of the game. I think, and we'll see what happens against Bournemouth. Could they take those positives a little bit forward? We seem to be, and again, just don't know whether it's pre-season euphoria. I'm just bringing you a little bit close to me, closer than close. I don't know if it's pre-season euphoria or anything like that, but it does seem incrementally what we're seeing is improvements. We'd like to have seen this last season, but it does seem, particularly yesterday. I thought standouts. I thought Freddie had a great game. I thought Callum had a good game. I thought Luis Guilherme had a good game. Which was great, and obviously Fulkrug, good goal as well. Like an arrow, says KWP. And we're going to talk about Nicholas Fulkrug in a bit because he had a really interesting interview on the West Ham website following the game, which I think just pulls the curtain back a little bit on team morale and stuff like that. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. But it is Hammers Headlines in association with the KUMB.com boys, doing it in in a sort of lunchtime slot today, just because it's the last for anyone who works in sales. I think it's the last day of the week, last day of the month rather. So it's a little bit busy. So I've got a little bit of time quickly just to jump on and do this in my lunch break. So let's talk. One of the goal scorers yesterday. We're going to talk about both actually. We'll talk about Lucas Paqueta first. Now, according to several sources, he isn't going to ask for a release. He isn't going to want to necessarily put in a transfer request to leave the club. We're still waiting on the official word from the hearing. But according to Clarence Hugh, and I think Sean then reiterated it on West Ham Football Twitter feed, Lucas believes West Ham showed him loyalty by standing by him for the last 2 years, and he would be happy to repay that loyalty by staying if the club don't sell him. Sort of that little caveat. So West Ham apparently have put a price tag around 60 million. We know that's probably more likely to be 55 million, 50 million probably, based on what happened with Kudus. There isn't any really confirmed interest. There's obviously speculation, but confirmed interest. The only one really would be Flamengo, to be honest. And they chose, I think it was yesterday, they put out quite an interesting post on their social media when they announced the signing of Samuel Lino from Atletico de Madrid. What was interesting was it said there was sort of a mock, like Google autocomplete, and it says, where does Flamengo's money come from? And you go, where does Emerson Royale come from? Where does Sal Niguez come from? Where does Lucas Paqueta come from? Now, the twist being the others mentioned have already signed for the club. So naturally, the last name on that list sent Flamengo fans sort of into a frenzy, just mentioning the fact of Paqueta. Why would you mention that? So social media lit up with fans declaring it was a sign that he was going to sign. However, West Ham and Paqueta are still waiting on the final verdict to become official. He scored, returned to action yesterday, scored, albeit fortuitously. There was definitely a little bit of the old Paqueta swagger back, flashes of, what he brings to the table. But in all likelihood, we're not, Flamengo aren't going to have the money to spend on Paqueta, and Paqueta is, according to reports, not going to force the move out. So, that's good. That's good because I think, Paqueta, you got to think, when's his performances stopped dipping consistently? About in the last 2 years, when we got him, he was phenomenal. But the last 18 months, 2 years, we've seen fits and starts in terms of his what he can bring to the table. And for me, part of that was a psychological thing. So let's see what we get when we have Lucas back to his best. And by the sounds of it, looks like it's going to be a West Ham shirt, at least for this season. Although I wouldn't be surprised come January, because that's usually a time when Brazilian sides tend to buy players in sort of their sort of off season. You might see, but even like, if he has a great season this year, Man City are probably aren't going to look to buy any more this summer. They could come in next year again, possibly. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know what's going to lie on ahead. One player who, according to reports, is of interest to Potter is a reunion of his former Brighton and Hove Albion and Spurs, current Spurs player, Yves Bissouma. Now, I'm surprised it's taken this long for this link to come up, in all honesty, given the fact, I think, in one interview when he's playing for Potter at Brighton, he called him like his father figure. So it's not surprising that the link, people have put 2 and 2 together. He was a key player for Potter during his time at Brighton, and then moved to Spurs for around £25 million, I think it was. He made 124 appearances for Brighton, following a £15 million signing from Lille. 90 of those appearances were under Potter. Now he's obviously had a mixed time at Spurs. He's played over 100 appearances. He's made 100 appearances for them, 44 under Ange, and 16 starts in the Premier League. However, with Thomas Frank coming in, they could be open to a move, particularly as his contract expires at the end of the summer next year, which is sort of a West Ham MO in terms of players. They're looking for around £20 million from him, apparently. Juventus are also said to be tracking him, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, and West Ham also have been named in that report. But Potter's relationship with Bassuma could be key if we are to make a serious move. No, we're led to believe no serious move has been made as yet, but it is something which is on the list, as well as the other 186 players on the list. Obviously, the purchase of Kudus to Spurs has opened up that conversation again with them, which has been 14 years, something like that. I think for £20 million, I think he's about 28. I want to say he's 28, which seems a bit not steep, but I think that's probably average for a Premier League midfielder. He's 28. Well done, Russ. He's also bought. Does he play? Have Mali qualified for the AFCONs? Mali 2025. I don't know if that. Yes, they are. So Mali will be playing in the AFCONs as well, and he could well be brought up to the Malian side for that tournament. So I just think, for 20 million, it's 28. I'd rather spend that money on, again, someone like Rafael Onyedika, or someone like that, or put it towards what was going to spend on Eden Yashari. In terms of what Basuma brings, I think we can get better players. Maybe not ones who are Premier League hardened, but I think we can get better players and better potential players for that. But we'll wait and see. We shall wait and see. He's a good player. On his day when he was at Brighton, he was really good. And then sort of lost his way a little bit at Spurs. I think if you get him for 10, 15 million quid, that'd be lovely. But I don't think you will. I don't think Spurs will stoop to that level. But there we go. Let's move on. Let's talk about another midfielder we've been linked to. Now, according to reports, we've spoken about Deossa before, Nelson Deossa, but according to some news coming out of South America, West Ham have made a formal offer for him of more than $13 million. Earlier this year, he signed for Monterrey, and he's a player that we apparently have been looking for since McCauley's come in. He's one of his sort of top scouted targets, apparently. He's blossomed in Liga Mexico as one of the standout midfielders in the league. They want around $16 million, which is about 12 million quid. and are looking at interest from us as well as Real Betis, Palmeiras. Roma apparently have already made contact with the players' representatives, and as they see him as quite a cost-effective midfield option. If it's 12 million quid and we're that interested in him, why haven't we bought him? That's the caveat for me. If he is top of the chart in terms of the Super Computer, then, and he's only 12 million quid, why haven't we got him? Even he's someone you could bring on, and then there were talks of potentially even like paying off Guido Rodriguez to get him off the books. If it was a couple of, I don't know how much he would be. Obviously, he would have signed a 3-year, so a good few million quid to pay him off, or to take or to give him I don't know, a year's wage or something like that. That was one of the things I was reading about the other day. Why haven't we done this already? This should be done and dusted, which might suggest that he might not be top of Macaulay's list, possibly. I mean, we've obviously got players around in the squad who could help him in terms of the transition. Thinking people like Alvarez, Luis Guilherme, Paqueta. These guys are South American-based players as well. So it's not like he's gonna just like walk in with his eyes like what the fuck type thing. Yeah, we should wait to see. 7 goals and 3 assists in the Mexican top flight last season, and obviously scored an absolute belter in the Club World Cup, didn't he, as well? And lastly, let's end on some nice news, some good news. After the game yesterday or this morning, Nicholas Folco did an interview with Rob Pritchard, which is on YouTube, the full interview, as well as interviewing the likes of Bruno and Freddie Potts and Carl Walker-Peters. But the one which really struck me was the Fulkrug interview, because it was really interesting, some of the things he was saying. So, and I think there's a transcript of it on the West Ham website as well. Obviously, a great goal from him. Shot like an arrow, according to KWP, and it was a fantastic goal. Maybe obviously defensive issues, and the goalkeeper was a bit, but still. But coming out of it, it was talking about that goal, and it actually wasn't the goal that was important. It was the fact was we were battling for that ball, and I got the opportunity to score the goal. But that was part of a bigger sort of discussion with Rob about the team camaraderie, and it's something you can't fake. And I know the club put out videos about about the trainings and stuff like that, and they're all laughing and joking. They probably don't include the bits of them shouting at each other and things like that, which they would do because it's human nature. Communication, as Bruno said, that's one of the main issues. When people don't communicate properly, that's where issues come from. But Nicholas basically said, right now the vibe is so good within the group. There's a lot of love in the air. We like each other so much and spending so much time with each other. The coach, Graham Potter, works with us not only on the pitch, but also to be a better group, to be a team and to be a family. We are enjoying our time here in London, in Germany, now in the US, and we're starting to see the impact of what we're doing. On the pitch, I think we've improved a lot. We still have a lot to do, and everything will not be perfect right now, so we have to be patient. For my goal, it felt good, of course, but the most important thing in that moment for me was not the goal. It was more about how we all went to the second ball. We had 3 players close to the second ball. Even if it was not an easy one, obviously people were fighting for it and trying to win it back. I think that reaction showed a lot, and obviously I was happy to put it in the back of the net. He also credited the fact that it's probably the first time under Potter that we've come back from a goal behind to win, which I think's right. And I've said it before. I think there's the mark of a good coaching staff is not just what's happening on the pitch. And I think we've been quite disjointed at the pitch. We haven't seen enough in sort of when Potter's taken over. I think in the last couple of games, I think I've seen more than probably I've seen all the last previous second of the season when Potter came in. But it's about this camaraderie, and it does seem to the outside that we do have this nice vibe going. And as I said, that's going to help. That's going to bring that camaraderie, that team spirit is going to bring us a number of points in those shit games where we are literally, trying to plug away for a point or come back from a goal down to win a game. That's when that team spirit and that ethos, that work ethos comes through, and working for each other. So hopefully I am clutching at straws, I know, and but hopefully we might be on the start of something. We'll wait and see. Obviously, hindsight's a great thing, and we'll see what happens in 2 weeks' time when we kick off against Sunderland. And obviously, we still have Lille next Saturday, and we've also got Bournemouth on Sunday. So, 2 more pre-seasons until it starts, and with a few new players coming in as well. Yeah, and as I said, I mentioned this morning, I listened to Toffee TV. They're out there covering it, the Everton fan channel, and literally what they're saying in terms of lack of the team, lack of cohesion, don't know what's happening, don't know what formations we're playing, lack of there's too many players in the squad who shouldn't be there. We can't sell players, we can't buy players. It literally takes exactly the same as West Ham. If you could change the accent from Scouse to Cockney, change the badge in the top corner, it could be a West Ham podcast. And go and check it out. It's quite fun. Yeah, if anything, it just gives me reassurance that it's not just us as well sometimes. But anyway, don't forget to check out newsmybrand.com for the latest news, reviews, opinions. And we might see you later on tonight, see if I get back in time to do an evening show. Much love. See you later, potatoes.